Hey everybody, this is discussion 2 and the topic is occupational socialization in PE. Let's get right into it. What is occupational socialization? So it's pretty much just your past experiences, whether that's former teaching or coursework, how they've shaped your methods or your attitudes and beliefs about teaching and physical education. You can see there the skills are acquired through the training, the work norms, so that could be like co-workers or just peer group values, and then the relationships as well you have with co-teachers and such like that. What shapes a future educator's views and tendencies? It would be, like we talked about, mentor teachers. It could be administration, the curriculum, the standards. There's a lot of things that might, whether it's coaching or not, a lot of times coaching is a big thing, especially PE. If you ever wanted to just coach, you just assumed you were going to be a PE teacher. That was kind of just the norm. So the article that I looked into was Influence of Occupational Socialization on Elementary PE Teachers' Beliefs and Curriculum. I want to do elementary because I feel like kind of is an overlooked how valuable developing those skills are at that age, and then how that's going to affect them going into secondary classes. So this socialization is negatively affecting that development. And then we'll look into the demographic here. There's 10 teachers. They were all recommended and are well known in this. It was the Southwest area. They did this study. And it was 10 teachers. They had 5 girls and 5 boys. And the age range between 27 and 51. And experience between 5 and 26 years of teaching. They wanted to mix it up with, you can see the difference here with race, location of school. There was 5 suburban, 5 urban, and teacher classification, which is, they set it up into 3 groups. That's important, and we'll discuss them here in a little bit. So the data was that they all the teachers signed on to this, and it was 1 calendar year of just pretty much the whole school year. Lesson plans, unit plans, film snippets throughout the year, and then they were like heavily involved with telling what the lesson was and what they were incorporating in the snippet. There's in-person observations. The formal interviews were really in-depth, and they discussed beliefs, where the beliefs came from, the response to that, the material that was developed, what shaped that material, as in like standards. It could be shape, it could be academic or administration. So you see there, and then the fictional curriculum plan was, because a big thing that affects this is not enough resources to adequately do the job expected. So that would be the fictional curriculum plan, where if they had all the resources and all the help they had, they could need, what would they be and what would those beliefs be? So going through the data here, like we brought up the classes of teachers that they had in this. The first one is non-teachers. There's 2 boys and 1 girl who were non-teachers, and all 3 were heavily affected by coaching, as in like they were really into it. Their main role, they just kind of thought they were babysitters. There's really no objectives in the lessons. It was just kind of roll the balls out and go. Your typical, traditional teacher, I guess. They were really just focused on coaching. They thought their main purpose was, their second main purpose was to highlight the athletes and prepare the athletes for future sports going into high school, pretty much. So that if you weren't really athletic as an elementary kid, you were kind of getting left behind. The big thing was they didn't spend much time thinking about changing curriculum at all. It was kind of the same thing every single unit, and it never really changed. They liked elementary PE because the big response was they had time to work on practice plans and things like that. And here you can see it was cool. They actually took direct quotes from in the study and incorporated them in throughout the analysis, which I thought was nice. Here's a conservative teacher. There was 4 of them total, 2 guys, 2 girls, and 3 out of the 5 coached sports. their main objective, they thought, was to teach fundamental motor skills for the younger students, and this came about with detailed lesson plans. So they were very detailed in what they did. They wanted to develop these skills in everyone, and even in that fictional curriculum, it was heavily stated that they were all about that part of education, which was nice. They really focus on health-related fitness and incorporate it into every lesson as much as possible, kind of more. Now it's less roll the balls out, but it's still kind of just playing games and stuff. They went through effective goals by emphasizing teamwork and cooperation throughout every lesson plan. And the big thing with them is the negative was they spent little time changing curriculum or thinking about it. It was the same thing every single time. They didn't like changing. They wanted to do the same thing, and they were kind of worried about doing it wrong, or that they just didn't like to change. And you see that here about, this is a quote from them about changing, about not having the time or energy to learn something new to teach, and they just don't really want to. Progressing teaching was 3 people, 2 girls, 1 boy, and they kind of just put everything together. They wanted to focus on skill and lifelong activity, and kind of more focus on success for all students. They wanted to showcase this by employing a variety of curriculum models and a broad range of learning goals. And this came about through detailed planning and consistently looking for new content and methods to increase engagement and student experience. They thought it was important to let kids use imagination without being prompted. So when we start looking at the results of these, of what happened, non-teaching, kind of, you guessed what happened there. They kind of formed hardcore coaching orientations, and they kind of said this came about from previous mentors. Kind of just wanting to coach or going through it through their high school experience, and kind of just like we talked about earlier, just focus on the coaching aspect. They all had non-supportive school culture, which they didn't really like all the other teachers looked down on PE and didn't think it was important, and administration just put it in there for more as like a babysitter type deal. Conservative results were that there were moderate coaching orientations and felt that coaching was something they had to do to get the job. So like they still wanted to coach, but it wasn't like the non-teachers. Their main influence was the people who taught them as well. So mentor teachers or curriculum. They were always expected to focus on 3 to 4 models and kind of directly teach the students. And their biggest response was struggle with colleagues, so that when they had a co-teacher that they didn't think was strong enough to try new things, or administration wasn't really cooperative, or if you were just an inexperienced teacher, you just kind of had to go along with whatever the older teacher did. So those were the reasons why they chose not to incorporate different curriculum. And then progressives, all 3 were slightly different. So the progressive results, all 3 were slightly different, whereas all the other ones, all the candidates were the same, participants were the same. The most interesting was Emma. She kind of was the biggest result. She came from that athletic background like the others, but she focused on her past experience and what she learned in school and her mentor teachers, and pretty much build a program without any help or resources from administration. The others kind of had the resources or the coursework, and they kind of just build it on their own just from what they learned. They didn't really have a special story like Emma or anything. So the implications were to the physical education would be the better mentorship in the coursework, like what we're going through, will develop better educators and produce better results in developing students. And then coaching was discussed a lot, and they kind of briefly discussed how separating coaching and PE would result in less teachers because it would be a less attractive job. And then here is the citation of the article I researched. And all right, that's it. See you guys.